Good evening, everyone, on a dark and stormy night here in Kansas City. Hope everyone is safe. It looks like there is some very dangerous hail and storms out there. We had a little bit of hail here a few moments ago, but appears to have passed by for now. Just have some heavy rains and a little bit of wind. Hopefully this quiets down and everybody has a safe evening here on Tuesday night as we kick into the Q&A. Hooray, hooray, it is Q&A day. And a great start to free agency and what is already shaping up to be a wild Tuesday night with, yes, the Ravens have backed out of the Maxx Crosby trade. Yeah, I don't even know what to say anymore. I mean, that could only happen to the Raiders of all teams. I mean, it's just born to happen to the Raiders. I guess that the Ravens saw Maxx Crosby's medicals and they're like, nope, we're not doing that. Usually, I mean, sometimes there's medical issues pop up in trades, and we've seen trades canceled before because of it. I don't remember the last one to this magnitude that happened. And again, that's why a lot of times trades don't go through and get announced until sometimes the medicals get done. Usually try to get them done pretty quickly. This one happened a few days. I would have to assume that's pretty much the only reason a team can or would back out of a trade. Is because of an injury or medical issue of some sort. And that's obviously why the Raiders have said they're not going to have any more comment at this time. It gets very complicated when that pops into it. So we'll see what happens next. Already seen the prediction that the Ravens are going to go sign Trey Hendrickson. Ravens would. That would certainly make sense to me. I don't know what the Raiders are going to do. I mean, they've just agreed to some deals. Now, again, nothing's official until Wednesday, but they've agreed to some deals on the process that Maxx Crosby, I'm not going to be on the books, not going to be there anymore. So we'll see how this affects a whole lot of people going forward, what the Raiders do next. If they try to trade Maxx Crosby to somebody else, take a discount off the deal. This is... Yeah, Nikki, I'm with you. I wish we could fast forward to September. Although this is fun enough now. I mean, we're having enough fun in free agency that let's just go through and enjoy this while we can. And I'm sure anything I want to talk to will probably come up during the Q&A and the questions tonight. So I am going to let you drive the conversation this evening. Dog Petter wants to bring in Kenyon Sadiq, right? Tight end. I guess that's what you're hoping for. I'll be very interested to see if the Chiefs, bring him in for one of their 30 visits. That would be very, very telling if they did. But yeah, to me, here's my only concern about Sadiq. He's 6'3", and I know, people whom I trust say it doesn't matter. But remember, there's never been a 1,000-yard tight end in the modern NFL who was 6'3" or shorter. Evan Ingram is the best 6'3" tight end of all time. And, people split hairs about whether guys are listed at 6'3", 6'4". I go with what they measured in on their pro days or their the combine, because that's really the only consistent verified size that you can get. So I go with those. That's what Pro Football Reference goes with. Typically, teams might inflate or change sizes. I've seen guys, shrink or gain an inch or two depending on which team they're playing for. Their weights are usually nowhere near what they're listed on rosters. And oftentimes players just stick with, and teams just stick with whatever they weighed in as a rookie. For their pro days or combine days, and oftentimes they just stay on their on their rosters that way the rest of their careers. That's my only concern about Sadiq. I get he's athletic. I get there's a lot of things that he can do, but Noah Gray's 6'3". Yeah, that's my only concern. So I get why people would want him. So want to bring him in. Try him out, see how he fits, and see how he fits in your offense. Go for it. Kick all the tires. That's what you got to do. It's what this time of year is for. Thanks for the super chat there, Dog Petter. Always appreciate you. And as long as I remember to see them, remember anytime you do a super chat, super question, anything like that, you will move to the top of the list. So we'll do our best tonight. Take care, everybody. Chris, what do you think is the most insane free agent contract so far? I heard there was once again, just a rumor mill, but I did hear a rumor before free agency started that the Chiefs had expressed some interest in Jalen Phillips, most recently of the Philadelphia Eagles, and looked like there was, maybe some serious interest there. And then he like signs right out of the box for $120 million. A good player, but $120 million for 4 years for Phillips? I mean, that's the biggest contract out there so far. And I mean, Owe from the with the something with the Commanders going from the Chargers got 100 million over 4 years. I mean, that's a whole $25 million difference, and I don't know that Phillips is $25 million better than him. That's almost an entire extra season's worth of a contract. I mean, it's entirely a season's worth of contract for Odafe Owe. But for Phillips, that I mean, maybe I'm going to be proven wrong on this one. I think the world of Brant Tillis. He is a super smart guy. There's a lot of people in the Panthers organization that I am told are very smart people. I just don't understand that one making any sense whatsoever. That one, but then I mean, that one's an outlier. And I get. I mean, that's the going rate for high end, top of the market edge rushers. I just don't know if Jalen Phillips is one of those guys. So, Alec Pierce doesn't bother me that much. Tyler Linderbaum, now that was the Raiders. I mean, that was the other one that good player, but topping Creed Humphrey's deal by what 25-30%. Yikes! That was a pretty crazy one too. But I'm gonna give the edge to Phillips, and maybe the Raiders would not have done that if they known that Maxx Crosby was still going to be on the books. Yikes! Yeah. Whoa, Nelly. Infopocalypse. Keep hearing rumors that KC was in on free agent of offensive tackles, which is a little surprising. Have you heard anything on this? I have heard the same rumors you have, Infopocalypse. I've seen the word out there that the Chiefs were interested. I have actually seen no physical indication that the Chiefs were in the market. Obviously, a few different ones have signed. I'm trying to pull up now the list of what's available. I mean, how many? 10 tackles have already signed. Not necessarily anybody specifically that I'd heard it connected to the Chiefs. But again, you look out there, and obviously the one that was associated with the Chiefs that is still out there is what I think is the crazier one, which is that if the 49ers decide to part ways with Trent Williams, Trent Williams is a great player, don't get me wrong. Chiefs were interested multiple times in the past on Trent Williams. They thought they had a deal done with Trent Williams, 4 years ago? Just didn't quite get it all worked out. He slept on it and next morning decided he wanted to stick with the 49ers. I don't get it. I mean, at this point in Trent Williams' career, it's a very short-term solution. A solution that probably, honestly, the Chiefs can't afford. So I don't know that makes a whole lot of sense there. And no one else on the market. I mean, I don't see the Chiefs going out for like a Taylor Decker. We're not bringing back Jawan Taylor, Jonah Williams, Cam Robinson. And then by the time you get to Trey Pipkins, I mean, you're a line out below the Jalen Moore level for sure. Jonah Williams probably maybe even below and Chiefs mindset, Jawan Taylor might even be below. We do have the tornado sirens going off here. I will wait because I do know that where I live, we frequently get tornado sirens that are not for us. So I will be ill-advised, I'm sure, but just based on the weather outside, since it sounds like it is passing by us, unless I checked on the radar, we were in the clear. So I'm assuming that this might not be for us, but if I do duck out of here momentarily, you will know why. We'll try and stick with it, though. Hopefully the siren goes off here shortly. But like I said, oftentimes I live in a part of Kansas City, Missouri, which cannot zone their tornado warning sirens real well. So we will get sirens when there are warnings in a different county. So I'll wait until Nick tweets out that there's a tornado warning for us, because I know I can always count on him to keep me up to date. But yeah, I don't see it. I can see the Chiefs being interested in a tackle in the draft. That's a different story. Because then that to me is, you're looking for a longer term solution. If the Chiefs think that there's a right tackle out there that they can pair with Josh Simmons, then you've got your future offensive line, I mean, nailed down for 4 or 5 years. So that would be a great long-term solution. But the fact that there's nothing that's happened to this point, I think it might have just been misunderstanding, a speculation gone awry. Maybe there's something we don't know about, but I think it's much more likely that the Chiefs stand pat there, look at the draft. I think they're reasonably happy with, if Esapole is their number 3, their swing tackle. I think they're reasonably okay with that. I can see them looking for some depth, but remember, they're going to add Ethan Driscoll back into the mix. I'm hoping to be able to, share with you more about Ethan Driscoll. I can tell you that he's back to being 100% healthy. No issues there. He was healthy by the end of the season. It's a really amazing story about Ethan Driscoll's situation, and like I said, he's okay. He's doing great now, but really, really interesting story about Ethan. Cody, I see you weighing in, I think, on the tornado siren. I am not. I'm on the north side of Liberty, kind of northwest of Liberty. So if South Liberty's under a tornado warning, then I guess that would be why the sirens are going off here. Hopefully we're dodging the bullet here, but like I said, if you see me run for it, you'll now know why. So we'll try and hang in there, though. Scott, with Bolton and Tranquil, the only real linebackers on the roster now. Possibly that they take Sonny Styles at 9, or take best of player available at 9, and possibly grab Zion Young at 29 or 40 if he's there. All distinct possibilities. Well, they have Bolton, they have Tranquil. They've got I'm completely blanking on Cooper McDonald's name. Yeah, Cooper McDonald, who's an undrafted free agent, and they really liked. I mean, he didn't play ahead last year of Jack Cochran, but Jack Cochran is unsigned. I'm anticipating that he might come back. You never know. I mean, if it's the right price, I could see them bringing back Cochran for numbers. Wouldn't be much guaranteed. I mean, I think it would be a near vet minimum if they were able to get him back. They've re-signed Cole Christensen. He's still around for depth. So they have some pieces there. Got Jeff Bossa, obviously. I mean, if they feel like Bossa's ready to play, they have 3 starters. No one quite like Leo. So that brings into question, are one of these linebackers, because with Styles and Arvell Reese, I mean, there's a couple of Ohio State linebackers at the top of the draft that could probably step in and play in Leo's spot immediately. So now, would they go that direction for a non-premium position? I think it would have to be a perfect storm where everybody else goes off the board. Styles is really interesting to me because he is bigger than Leo, but athletically very similar. Not as strong as Leo, faster than Leo, which might be a little bit of the difference there in those two guys. But I mean, production-wise, Leo was a more productive linebacker in college than Styles was. Now, I think you could obviously say Leo was maybe the better player on a worse team, whereas Styles had a lot of help on a really, really good team. So there's things to take into consideration, but I don't know if he's dramatically different than Leo as a player, and especially once you get the size into it and everything. I mean, he's kind of that same type of player, and the Chiefs struggled to really find a full-time role for Leo. So I don't know if Styles is the perfect fit. I mean, he's not really a Drew Tranquil type, and the Chiefs play so many sub packages now that, Bossa is probably more of a full-time linebacker, a Drew Tranquil type, than Styles is. So that I think would be difficult to see the Chiefs justify taking a player that they can't see as necessarily a 3-down guy that they can bank on as a 3-down guy. And that's nothing to do with Styles' play. I mean, I think that has more to do with he's probably a better fit for a 3-4 that's going to have more linebackers on the field all the time. If you're the Chiefs, you got to consider your fact you're probably only going to have 2 linebackers out there at all times. And one of them is always going to be Nick Bolton. And if right now you're keeping Drew Tranquill's going to be out there. Tranquill is a different, I mean, he's more your coverage guy. I don't know if Styles is really a coverage guy. I think it'd be really interesting, though, because Brett Veach has said that some of the best players in this draft are at non-premium positions, and those two linebackers are two of the best. Um, Interesting because you're right. I mean, if you go somewhere other than defensive line at 9, and even, I mean, you could go defensive tackle. I'm not sure that there's a defensive tackle that's worthy of going at 9 if you're the Chiefs. You invested in Omar Norman lot last year as your 3 tech of the future behind Chris Jones. So I'm not sure there's a great place. You just signed a defensive tackle. You need a nose tackle um, like I'm blanking on Tonga, being able to get Tonga's first name down. Kyrie's Tonga, thank you very much. Me and my ability for names is really starting to hurt me during free agency with all the new guys coming in. Uh, I can picture them. It's just the names are blanking on me. But they still. I mean, the Chiefs are going to have 4 or 5 new defensive linemen. They're not going to be able to sign all those guys in free agency, so they're going to draft some dudes. If you don't go defensive line at 9, defensive line at 29 is a distinct possibility, and Zion Young's going to be one of the better players there, I think, at that spot. So yeah, if the Chiefs go somewhere other than defensive line at 9, I think Zion Young's a distinct possibility there at that next spot. Brother Rick with the super chat. Rick, who would you want as the Chiefs free agent backup quarterback? Would you like the Chiefs to draft a quarterback? If so, what round? I can't say that I necessarily have a favorite quarterback down the draft. I mean, I'm not taking one at 9. I mean, Ty Simpson would probably be that guy, but as long as Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, you can't afford to take a quarterback that high. It has to be later on. I mean, I could see a bunch of guys in different ranges. Um, I mean, I'm looking at like right now. Mock Draft Database has Drew Allar, Penn State, at 93, so into the 3rd round. That's probably too early for me. But then you get into 4th round, 5th round, when you start getting into the Carson Becks and Taylor Green from Arkansas. I mean, I'm not crazy about because I'm worried a little bit about the attitude, but Diago Pavia for Vanderbilt late in the draft would be interesting. I mean, not exactly a Shedeur Sanders situation, but Pavia's he's got some diva concerns that I would have some on that end. Maybe just watching Jalen Daniels at Kansas, I think he would be an interesting late round pick. I mean, if it's a handful of those guys, I could see the Chiefs maybe going 4th or 5th round. Otherwise, I mean, I don't think the Chiefs have a 7th round right now, but I could see them trying maybe to get back into the 7th or even draft. If any of those guys, are at the end of the draft are undrafted, Jalen Daniels may go undrafted. I mean, I wouldn't have any problem going that direction post draft. So I think there's some options there, but I mean, I do think it's a little bit of a lost opportunity for the Chiefs not to invest in the quarterback position in the draft, just to prepare you to be in a better spot than you have been when you've had like last year when your offense without Mahomes just fell off the face of the earth. And granted, that was probably more to do with the run game and injuries than anything else. But again, I think that there's some upside to taking what and Reed did this very successfully in Philadelphia, taking young quarterbacks and grooming them to be good players, and then on the offhand chance that it works out, you flip them for a draft pick later on and do the whole cycle again. So that's kind of in the ballpark of where I've wanted the Chiefs to go. I mean, at least taking an occasional shot on a quarterback, but they haven't drafted one. They haven't drafted one post Mahomes. So I would like to see them take a chance on a guy. And, again, I mean, if one of those guys falls out of the draft, it wouldn't be totally different than what the Chiefs have done in the past with bringing in a young 3rd quarterback. But I wouldn't mind seeing them kick in just a little bit more resources and draft a guy that they think that they can develop. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the equation. Go back to, and once again, Brother Rick, thank you for the super chat. Always appreciate that. Chris, Ravens deal for Crosby has died. Does KC make a play for him now? I still can't imagine those two teams getting together. I know that they've made some minor trades over the last few years. This is a major trade, and I can't imagine the Raiders trying to sell their fan base on trading Maxx Crosby to Kansas City, especially for what would have to be a discount. But then you think about trying to fit Max under the cap. It doesn't look like a good fit. I mean, I would try it if I was Brett Veach. I just don't think you're going to get much of a response from the Raiders, and I don't know that you could, like you said, you could fit Maxx Crosby in under the cap. Um, yeah, Max, he had an injury at the end of the season. Obviously, the Raiders were trying to shut him down. I'm trying to remember if that was a knee or an ankle. But actually, it could have been, I'm trying to remember if it was maybe even an arm injury. I'm completely blanking on what the injury was, but what they ended up putting him on injured reserve, I think, for the week 18. They wanted to shut him down. Max said he could play and was ticked off. So, I mean, you can put two and two together here. About the only reason that you're canceling a trade is the medicals. So clearly there was a problem with the physical. Going through everything with Crosby, something didn't add up for the Ravens. They were not willing to part with the compensation. So what happens next? I mean, either the Raiders are staying with Max, or they're going to have to move him. And I mean, unless somebody is willing to overlook whatever the Ravens were not willing to, then about the only chance you're going to move him is probably for less compensation than what the Raiders just let him go for. So it's a nasty situation to be in. It really is. And Nikki, your next question: are you surprised the Chiefs paid so much for a running back? I'm not. And this fits in. There's a question later on I'm going to bring into this that Paul brought up. Matt, what happened yesterday? Soren Petra was laughing at your appearance on the radio today. Once again, did not hear that, but I will talk about the conversation that we had yesterday and where we disagreed. What I'm saying is that the Chiefs, with the signing, what Soren asked me was, what makes this good signing? What has to happen in order for what you're paying for Kenneth Walker to make sense? And I'm saying it's Super Bowl. And Soren, I think, interpreted it as me saying that all the signings are judged based on whether you make it the Super Bowl, and that's not the case. It's a handful. Frank Clark, I judged on whether or not the team won a Super Bowl, because the Chiefs believe that was the one piece that they were missing, that they needed an edge rusher. So they overpaid for Frank Clark, both in draft pick compensation and in a contract to get Frank Clark. Not totally dissimilar, maybe, from what the Ravens were doing Maxx Crosby, but they paid through the nose for Frank Clark. And what was the standard? My standard for Frank Clark? Winning a Super Bowl. It was the same for the Sammy Watkins signing. You made Sammy Watkins, I believe he was one of the top 3 paid wide receivers in the league when the Chiefs signed him. He was not one of the 3 best receivers in the league. They paid him like that. But once again, those 2 signings, and I'm going to throw Joe Thuney in there. Those are probably the only 3 signings I would say, to me, that I judged them based on whether the Chiefs won a Super Bowl. You made Joe Thuney a highest paid interior lineman in the league because your offensive line got its butt kicked against the Buccaneers, and you never wanted to see that happen. So what do? You get 2 Super Bowls with Joe Thuney. So that was a success. Frank Clark, I don't care what Frank Clark did throughout his Chiefs career. I mean, outside of winning a Super Bowl, it was largely disappointing. But he won a Super Bowl. And I don't think I absolutely know you do not win that Super Bowl in 2020. You do not win that without Frank Clark. Bottom line. He got you to some Super Bowls that you probably wouldn't have been there. He is statistically, I believe, one of the top 3 all time in postseason sacks. I mean, that's what Frank Clark did for you. He won you a Super Bowl, and he got you to another. Not doing that, I don't think, without Frank Clark. So, job accomplished. Same thing with Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins wasn't one of the best 3 wide receivers, but he won you a Super Bowl. That was my standard, was whether or not that signing was a success. Like I said, I said it about Joe Thuney. I don't remember saying it about any other free agent signing. I will, and I'm not going to say it about any other free agent signing this year. I'm only going to say it about Kenneth Walker. The Chiefs feel like that the running back position is the one thing that impacted their offense the most. And you can tell because I don't think that they're going to sign another starter at any other position. I mean, I could be surprised. Maybe they're going to end up getting a wide receiver who will squeeze in it. But I don't think that they're going to change their starters by and large at any other spot. I mean, you're not bringing back Hollywood, so I guess you're going to have another starting wide receiver. But Rice will be back. Worthy will be back. Your entire offensive line, your quarterback will be back, except for your backup. Your tight ends, top two tight ends are going to be back. Your entire offense, except for running back, is coming back. And this is after you had one of your worst offensive performances, certainly the worst offensive performance in the Patrick Mahomes era, the worst offensive performance of the Andy Reid era, all of these things. And what are you changing? You're changing out the running back. I mean, the Chiefs are telling you with their actions that the only thing that they believe truly about that offense is that's a problem was the running back spot. And that's the one thing that they're changing over. So I mean, I get they're changing coaches. They're going to change some other things. They're going to change the game plans, executions. I mean, that's what they're going to be working on. But from a personnel standpoint, Chiefs are telling you with their actions. Running back was their only problem. So they went out, they looked at it, and clearly they decided that Kenneth Walker was the best free agent running back available. Is he the best running back in the league? No. Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey are 1 and 2. Who's third? Maybe Kenneth Walker's in the conversation for being the third. He's going to be the highest paid running back for now. So, he's still higher paid than Etienne. So, I mean, but again, the Chiefs were determined to go out and get what they thought was the best running back, and they were willing to pay for it because they feel like that is the number one holdback and challenge on this offense. So they feel like that they have fixed it. So, I mean, you can quibble with me if you want, and you can say, because Sharen's point was that, well, that's not a standard. You have to have some, yardage next to it, some performance metrics. And I'll be honest. I mean, if Kenneth Walker rushes for 800 yards and the Chiefs win a Super Bowl, I mean, he obviously was enough of the difference that it turned him from a 6-11 offense into a Super Bowl winning offense. So that alone, I mean, yards isn't going to tell you anything. I mean, you had Jamal Charles, put up 1,400 yards, I think, once for Andy Reid. Didn't come close to winning a Super Bowl. 1,400 yards from your running back doesn't guarantee you anything. I mean, Seren said he won 1,600 yards from Kenneth Walker. 1,600 yards doesn't guarantee you anything. He just, Kenneth Walker just won a Super Bowl with Seattle, rushing for a little, 1050, 1070, I think it was. I mean, exactly, Nikki. That's where I'm going with this. The Super Bowl is a performance metric, and I get it's hard, but if you don't want that to be the standard by which you're held to, go somewhere else. Sign with somebody else, because that's the standard that you're being held to here. That was the standard for Frank Clark, is that you're the dude that's coming here to win us a Super Bowl. I mean, you think Patrick Mahomes is telling, Kenneth Walker when he gets here, hey, dude, just go out and do your best. Hopefully you get 1,600 yards. If we win a Super Bowl, it's nice. No. Patrick's going to tell him, look, your job is to win a Super Bowl. I don't care if you get 800 yards or you get 2,000 yards. You better win a Super Bowl. So that's what we're going for. I mean, I get it. You want there to be numbers. I'm sticking with it. That's the one signing this year. And like I said, I mean, it's been 4 years since I've had another standard like that. It's been since Joe Thuney. So 5 years, I guess. 6 years. Gosh, was that long ago? That's the only standard. Only player I'm holding to this standard is that if Kenneth Walker gets you a Super Bowl championship, this is an effective signing. If he goes out and gets you 1,600 yards every season, and the Chiefs go 6-11 again, or they blow out of the playoffs early, then no. I mean, it was nice, some nice fireworks and everything, but this organization is past, leaning on fantasy stats. They don't do that anymore. So that's my standard. That's my rant for the evening. That, no, I'm not surprised, because the Chiefs feel that is their number one biggest hole on this team. They are correct, by the way. It is the number one biggest hole, even bigger than corner. And I get, hey, let's face it too. The Chiefs are also banking on what's their strengths and abilities. They have not been able, by and large, even when EB was here. I mean, they've not developed a running back. We talk about wide receivers and the Chiefs not developing wide receivers. Andy Reid got here and he had Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles came fully formed. He didn't develop Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles was already an all-pro running back when Andy Reid got here. So you can't really take the credit for developing Jamal Charles. If anything, Jamal Charles had his worst years in Kansas City under Andy Reid. He was a little bit like holding him down to only, Dean Williams being Dean Roy, combining my Dean Smith. Thank you very much. See, once again, I'm getting terrible with names tonight. Being the only guy who could hold Michael Jordan under 20 points. Andy Reid was the only guy that could hold, Jamal Charles under 1,500 yards. He was fully formed. Spencer Ware, I guess you could say, she's developed, but Spencer was a fine running back. Wasn't one of the best in the league. Dameon Williams, they squeezed every little bit of juice out of him, but he wasn't a superstar. Even at his best, he was a really perfect fit as just a piece of a backfield. Jordy Williams was also a really good running back. Darrell Williams was a really good running back for this team, but wasn't anywhere. I mean, wasn't like one of the top 20 best running backs in the league. They got a lot out of some guys, but they didn't like develop them into superstars or anything. And and now granted, they never really invested a pick. They invested one in Clyde and did not develop Clyde. So I think if you want to have some complaints about the Chiefs in development, running back is as a spot where they have struggled to develop players. So if you need to go out and pay top dollar to get a fully formed running back to make your offense better, that's what you got to do. And so I do believe that Super Bowl is a metric, and that this trade for me, that will be the way it's judged. If he goes out and Kenneth Walker, like I said, if he averages 1,500 yards a year, it's nice. But unless there's a ring that comes with it, he's going to be disappointed, and I think Chiefs fans should be disappointed. So that's my 2 cents. So, Paul, I hope that answers your question too. It was my rant for the evening. So I don't laugh at anybody. So I'm not laughing. We just have a disagreement on what we think is an acceptable standard. So, like I said, winning Super Bowl is hard, but if you don't want to be held by that standard, go play for the Cleveland Browns. They got some cap. Well, they don't have any cap room. Cincinnati's got some cap room. They'll pay somebody. Go play for a team that doesn't win, and you can just make as much money as you want. So, Night Hunter want to say the rest of the NFL cry. They will if the Chiefs sign Crosby. I mean, he's still under contract. He reverts back to the Raiders. So, yeah, I'm sure the NFL would cry if the Chiefs ended up with Crosby. I just think it's going to be incredibly difficult. I just can't see those two sides working together on a trade of that magnitude. I mean, they've done some low-level deals in the last few years, but nothing of that magnitude. And I have a hard time saying that it was that's a standard. Paul, I saw your second question. Now, do you really say the Super Bowl meant Super Bowl or bust? Yeah, I mean, you're only paying a guy to be the highest paid running back in the NFL if you're the Chiefs. If you think he's going to get you to the Super Bowl, if he doesn't, then that signing did not accomplish what you intended. And I'm not going to say it about anybody else. That's the only free agent that's going to get held to that standard, because, like I said, you got to look at this offense and its performance last year. That's the only dude you're changing out. This team is telling you that's the one position that failed them last year. So, Mr. Visionary, would the Chiefs draft Tate at 9? I have no reason to believe that they wouldn't if he's available, especially if that's the best wide receiver available. And it certainly, you look at a lot of the different scenarios that are, lying about right now, and you look at what's out there, and yeah, I mean, right now it doesn't look like at least a team is interested in going running back or wide receiver in the top 8. Now, that said, free agency is going to change some things, and and probably 2 things that really change things are what the Saints and the Chiefs have done. Because the Saints go and get ETN, because I think clearly they're thinking the same thing the Chiefs are thinking. There's no way that Jeremiah Love has fallen to 8. No way that Jeremiah Love has fallen to 9. So their anticipation, everything I'm hearing is that he's going to go top 5. that could change things because, at top five, I mean, anybody could go for him top five. I mean, the Raiders clearly going to go for a quarterback. Uh, hey, the Jets, Arizona, I mean, Tennessee. Uh, I mean, the Giants, I'm not even sure the Giants should cross off the list, even though they have Scadaboo. I mean, Scadaboo's not a first round running back. I mean, that was a guy who had taken much later. And, there's some questions about whether or not Scadaboo is going to be a 220 carry guy or whether he needs to be a part of a paired backfield. You've got young quarterbacks, and a lot of these places are going to have young quarterbacks that need some help. I mean, Tennessee makes a lot of sense for Jeremiah Love because their quarterback needs some help. Do they need offensive line, defensive line help? Sure. But NFL powers that be seem to be pretty convinced that Jeremiah Love isn't going past five. So there's either a team in the top five that really, really, really wants him, multiple teams that really want him, or there's a team that people anticipate maybe moving up. Um, the Saints doing that too really makes me think that the Saints are not taking Jeremiah Love, which now means that the Saints may be in play for a wide receiver. And I know, once again, I'm looking at mock draft database right now. They've got Carnell Tate going to the Saints at 8. The one thing I think, I mean, if you're the Chiefs, the one vibe that I've gotten from the Chiefs is that, Reuben Bain is their top target. Now, right now, I think the conventional wisdom is that he's not going to be there. So I think that makes it pretty wide open about where the Chiefs could go at 9. They could go corner. They could probably get the number 1 cornerback off the board. They could get number 1 safety off the board. You're probably talking about the number 2 wide receiver, maybe. Wouldn't be the worst thing. You may be getting number 2, second best offensive tackle off the board there. I mean, the Chiefs are going to have a lot of options of where they go. I do think that the one spot where they probably wouldn't be getting one of the top 2 players at that position might be end, unless, there's a scenario where Reuben Bain falls to 9. And there are scenarios out there where that could happen. But I think he's definitely in that category, Mr. Visionary. Right now, I think my first post free agency projection would be that I think the Saints are going to be in the market for Carnell Tate. So that would be the one pushback about, thinking that might be an option there, is that I think that there may be a team that also would know, based on what we've seen so far in free agency, that if you want to get Carnell Tate, you probably need to jump in front of the Chiefs to do it. And again, that might make if he's on the board at 8, there's going to be some teams calling the Saints maybe to see if they can get that pick, assuming the Saints don't want to take Tate. So Chiefs comments. Do you think the investment in Kenneth Walker at running back means Mahomes will be back by week 1, or that maybe they think they'll need to lean on the run while he works back? Tough to tell. I think it's definitely tough to tell. I don't think that was honestly Chiefs comments. I don't think it was a factor. I think this was truly a factor of, what do the Chiefs feel like that they need for the next 2 to 3 years on this team in order to have the offense that they want to have that can be a Super Bowl caliber offense. They need an elite running back. They need, a top 5, top 6 running back. Like I said, I'm not going to put him in the top 2 because as long as Saquon and McCaffrey are in the league, I can't put him in the top 2. But he's in the conversation for next in line, and the Super Bowl MVP helps out there. And maybe getting away from the committee backfield approach in Seattle, if he doesn't have a strong running mate in Kansas City, maybe that is going to be what propels Kenneth Walker to the top of maybe then being the number 3 back in the league, or puts him in that conversation, because he's probably going to be more involved with the passing game. Might end up getting more touches, although I still think that the Chiefs will want to pair him with another back that'll take the workload off and not put as much strain. But I think he's going to get some touches, so he's going to get those opportunities. But I think it's more long-term interest than short-term. So I don't think that this was a huge thought was what it says about Mahomes and his recovery. I think if the one thing about Mahomes' recovery is that it can tell you is that they do think that Mahomes is going to play this year. If they thought that for any reason that, this is going to be a 12-month recovery for Patrick Mahomes and he's not going to be back until into December, then I think you would see the Chiefs going much more into, this is, I know there was, like I said, it was a conversation I had yesterday with some pushback whether this is rebuilding or retooling. The Chiefs might call it a minor rebuild, but that's all they view it as. They don't view this as a major rebuild. It's more of a minor rebuild, um, because I think if they thought that there was a reason why you wouldn't have Patrick Mahomes for the majority of this season, they would be trying to fangle for a better draft pick in 27 as well. Instead, they're trying to put together a roster to win. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So they're trying to win with the belief that they're probably going to have Patrick Mahomes for most, if not all, of the season. And I mean, I still think it'll be tough for him to be ready by week 1 and be 100% himself. I imagine you will probably hear some reports at some point relatively soon, that people are going to say, hey, Patrick's 100%. He's going to be ready to go week 1. All is good. They can't know that yet. So I think you're hoping for the best. But and I know I hear good things about how his recovery is going, but you're not going to know for sure for a few more months, and you can't make that judgment quite yet. But I know that the Chiefs are very bullish on how things are going, so we will see. Brian, what is your pick for a good backup quarterback? I'll tell you, I mean, you know what? I went off it for a while because it was just too fantastical. But after what the Raiders and the Jets pulled off with Geno Smith, so they did a pick swap. So it wasn't like even like a major draft pick or anything like that. It wasn't even a loss of draft picks. They did a pick swap. So Geno Smith is going from the Raiders to the Jets. They were going to release Geno Smith, just eat all that money. Instead, now they're making a trade. So he's going to the Jets. Raiders pick up some draft position. Geno is getting paid an extra $1 million from the Jets. So he's gonna make like $3.3 million this year from the Jets. They're taking a little bit off of his contract, not much, but a little bit. Normally, just like the situation last year when with Gardner Minshew, when the Raiders released him, the Raiders were paying him a ton of money last year. Chiefs paid him the league minimum. So Jets could have just waited for him to get released. Instead, they make the trade. They pay a little bit more for him. They make sure that they get him, that it's like he doesn't sign somewhere else, for a league minimum or anything. They get to lock him in, and the Raiders save a little bit of money, not a ton, but they're still going to eat a lot of costs out of that. So there's another quarterback out there that you could do something like that with, and that's Kyler Murray. And now, granted, I mean, Kyler Murray would have to agree to waive the guarantees in his contract that are coming up, because he's got a guarantee for, I believe, the 5th day of the league year that is a chunk of his 27 base pay becomes guaranteed. So he'd have to waive that, which I don't think is going to be much of a problem, because he's going to lose it anyway. If the Cardinals release him, he's not getting those guarantees anyway. He's going to get what was guaranteed to him already prior to today. So he's getting paid that no matter what. You could do something similar. Trade draft positions with the Cardinals, offer to pick up a little bit more than league minimum of Kyler Murray's salary. Cardinals eat all the rest that they were going to eat anyway, and Kyler Murray ends up in Kansas City. Now, I don't think that'll happen, because I do think that the Chiefs are pretty optimistic that Mahomes is going to be ready to go at the beginning of the year. And they don't want too much. I mean, it's not like you're going to have a controversy, but I also don't want a frustrated Kyler Murray sitting around complaining all year if that's the way it ended up. Although I think that Kyler Murray spending a year learning from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes would be tremendous for Kyler Murray. I think it'd be a great opportunity for him, but I know he probably wants to play, so it's not going to work out. He's probably going to go play for some terrible team somewhere and just get his butt kicked again like he has been in Arizona, because he's going to end up with a terrible franchise who has no quarterback. I think it'd be a great situation for everybody involved. And that's a guy that you could actually, I think, potentially do some things with if you had to play without Mahomes for a period of time, whether it's week 1 or he gets dinged up in week 8, whatever happens. Now you start looking at the rest of the field that's available. I mean, it's a pick your own poison. I mean, there's not. I mean, I know that the name I hear most mentioned in connection with the Chiefs is Russell Wilson. I did not think that Russell Wilson was cooked 2 or 3 years ago. I think he's cooked now. I don't see much life in Russell Wilson anymore. I mean, I'm not even sure if the arm's completely there. It might be the only thing that he still has is the arm, but I'm not a fan of it. No to Joe Flacco. I'm not sure if I'm in the Tyrod Taylor business. I mean, Garoppolo's not going to do that, I don't think. Um, are you talking about Zach Wilson or Trey Lance? Somebody in that category? Jake Browning and Sam Howell's available. Skylar Thompson. I mean, there's some guys that are, in that 4 to 7 years of experience, but nobody that I'm like, that would be a great guy to get. I mean, Kyler Murray's the only one that I would say that'd be a great guy to go get, to potentially be your backup quarterback. Like I said, I'm the only one that I'm sure has this theory. I doubt that it's anything that's appealing to the Chiefs, but that's where I would try to pull it off. But I don't think it's unfortunately going to happen, even though I think it would be a great idea. But then again, I'm on an island sometimes. Couple of great comments here. Yeah, hey Sheffield, I'm with you. Love Leo. He's been a good dude to cover, but very happy for him to get a contract like that. That's a great deal for him. I think you're talking about Jalen Phillips. I wouldn't disagree. I mean, there had to be a bunch of teams that were involved in that, unless the Panthers were just bidding against themselves. But I heard the Chiefs were interested in Jalen Phillips, but certainly not at $120 million. So. Yes, AZ Chief Crosby is going back to the sinking ship. Yeah. Well, he said he loves the Raiders and wants to end his career as a Raider, so I guess he's gonna go back and being a Raider again. Patrick, do you think the Chiefs are in for Trey Hendrickson? You could knock me over with a feather if the Chiefs sign Trey Hendrickson. That's a costly deal, and I mean, I would have been okay with this a couple of years ago when his contract standouts, started going. But what's he? How old? He's 31. No, I'm not plugging. I mean, Trey Hendrickson is one of those guys that I'm just afraid could fall off a cliff at any moment. So no, I'm not plunking down. And I mean, it's sounding like he wants like 30 million. He wants to be in that top paid ballpark. But I don't know. I can't go for that. I can't go for that cost for Trey Hendrickson. I don't think the Chiefs will either. The Buzz Podcast. Who the heck are the Chiefs going to have to play on defense? Are they going Iron Man football? They're leaning on a couple of things. I mean, one obviously is that they're leaning on Dave Merritt and Steve Spagnuolo being able to coach up some younger corners, and they're still going to need to acquire some younger corners. I mean, they're not set there by any stretch of the imagination. They've got some work to do there. And does it include getting maybe Chris Roland Wallace to play a little bit more corner, or is it just going to be strictly Chris Roland Wallace, Chamari Connor, and maybe a cornerback to be named later will man the slot, and then you got Christian Fulton, Noel Williams, Kevin Knowles on the outside? I still think you're adding 2 or 3 guys in there. You are probably drafting there. I think the chances of the Chiefs using one of those first-round picks on a corner is much more likely than it was a week ago. To me, it's almost definite. I don't know if we're going to see a Fab Five run it back where the Chiefs draft 5 defensive backs this year. Entirely possible. I mean, I could certainly see them making 3 or 4 selections at corner and safety to fill out this group. But it's going to be a new look. But that's what they're banking on. I mean, they're banking on the idea that Dave Merritt and Steve Spagnuolo have done this before. That these might be 2 of the best coaches in the league when it comes to coaching up defensive backs. And I'm not sure enough people have talked about this yet, but, and we haven't gotten the numbers on Josh Williams yet, but Dave Merritt's coached 4 guys who in the last week have signed contracts worth more than $250 million. That's absolutely ridiculous. And I think they're over $150 million in guaranteed money. So, I mean, one, I think that all those guys need to kick 3% of their money back to Dave Merritt. Because, I mean, it's incredible what he's done with that group. I mean, and I've joked before, I will continue to say it. I think Dave Merritt could take a golden retriever and turn him into a Pro Bowl cornerback. The fact that some of these guys did not get, Jalen Watson had a really good year last year. I mean, it was his best year. It was a contract year. It was really good. I think he developed Nazi Johnson. Nazi Johnson was a pretty raw guy, and Jalen was kind of a raw player too. Those guys both had what were generally viewed as, I think, higher floors but lower ceilings than a guy like Josh Williams, who had a low floor and a high ceiling. Josh Williams is the one guy I would say who probably did not meet or exceed his ceiling. Did he meet his floor? Yeah, I think he even exceeded his floor. But, and we'll see. Maybe Josh Williams will work out well in a different defense. I wish him the best. He's a good dude, really is. I mean, he never turned down anybody for an interview. I mean, he wasn't in a lot of positions where he had to be accountable for the defense of the team, but he was always respectful in the locker room. He was a glue guy in that defensive back area. I mean, everybody enjoyed, I mean, he was kind of a social director back there, got everybody together, even if some guys like Justin Reed and Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie kind of ruled the room a little bit as far as, who was in charge. Josh Williams was the mixer. I mean, he was the guy that everybody got along with and brought everybody together. So I think the Chiefs will miss him. But again, that group was an incredible group, and to be able to sign contracts for more than $250 million says something about the scouting. It says something about the players, but it says a lot about the coaching too. So Chiefs are going to bet on that. And I'll be honest, I mean, I like the signing of Kyrie Tonga and Alohi Gilman. I like both of those signings. Gilman is a great bargain. I think Tonga is going to end up being. I was not really happy with the amount that they signed him for at first, but the more and more I look at it, I think that is a really good signing. I mean, that guy should definitely be a piece that they need. They need more. I mean, like I said, they basically need 5 new defensive linemen this year. That's one piece right there that they're going to get. And Gilman's going to be their first true free safety in a while. So, that's, I think, a really, really important piece. There's a couple of places where, I mean, they may be as good or better at both those positions. The one tech defensive tackle next to Chris Jones and at free safety. As much as I like Brian Cook, I think those two guys, I mean, I think they're as good as or not upgrades from where they were. They are worse at corner. There's no doubt about that. And they're going to have to get better. But right now, I think they're on pace to looking like they're going to be better most other places. Linebacker's another area they got to work. I mean, losing Leo is a big one. They got to replace Leo. So we'll see who they replace him with. That's going to be kind of a key to the whole thing. But I think my message to Chiefs fans right now would have some faith, because Dave Merrick's done it before. I think he can do it again with another group of young defensive backs. I think you should have some faith in that. They still have to round out the defensive line. They got to round out the linebackers, but they're not done. And you know what? I mean, if you got 9 draft picks, if 6 or 7 of them end up being on defense, you're probably going to feel a lot different than you do today after you've lost some guys and some money's going over to the offensive side. I was going to mention real quick, because Dom was saying that Petro made you look like a fool yesterday. I don't care. I care if you think that. No offense, Dom, but I don't care what you think. So I don't know what your point is, but I don't care. There you go. Brian, Tranquil staying put. It certainly looks like it. I mean, I have no reason at this point to believe that Tranquil is going to be gone. Typically, again, teams in this situation, they don't like to play whole players hostage. And if the Chiefs were thinking about moving on from Drew Tranquil, there's no reason for that not to be done now. The only reason you are holding on to anybody at this point is that you are looking to release that player on Wednesday when the new league year starts, so you can kick some of their salary cap hit into 2027. Drew's got 1 year left in his contract. Cost is exactly the same no matter what, whether you make that move today or tomorrow. So I have to assume that Tranquil is staying put. I mean, they have some cap space. They have some other places where they can squeeze out some cap space if they need it. So I'm imagining at this point that Tranquil's staying put. I mean, otherwise there'd be no reason to keep him here, release him, or at least let people know he's being released so that they can factor that into their free agency plans and get him a payday. So at this point, I'd be very, very surprised, Brian, if Drew Tranquil was not staying with this team. Snarky McSnarkles. Are we happy with Simmons at left tackle? I mean, I'll let you tell me. I can tell you the Chiefs are happy. I've not heard any concerns from anybody in the organization of late. The last time that I talked to people in the organization before the end of the season, I mean, they were talking in glowing terms about, where they were with Josh and how the season ended, even with the injury and the wrist issue. When I saw Josh at the end of the year, he was already out of the cast, and talked to him for a few minutes. Looked like he was in pretty good spirits. And they're talking in terms of, hey, Josh is going to be left tackle, Jalen Moore's going to be the right tackle. We're really happy with the three guys in between. So Chiefs are happy. I don't know if it's a situation where if the Chiefs are happy, you're happy. And I mean, availability is the biggest concern. I don't think there's any concerns about Josh's game. They really liked what they saw from him when he was on the field this year. I think the only reason why you hear tackle being in play for the Chiefs is that they're looking for a right tackle to pair with him going forward, which is why, I do think there's a possibility that if the right tackle that they believe can play on the right side falls to them, less so, I think, at 9, but more so at 29, maybe even trading up if they needed to. I think corner is going to be a good spot for both those spots as well. But yeah, no, I see the Chiefs nothing but happy with Josh Simmons, and they're ready to move forward with him. On to Brown. Snuck in with the comment when I wasn't looking. It was only 6 minutes ago, so I'm not that. I may have even still been my running back rant at that point. Who knows? Watch Najee Johnson as to get re-signed again. Hey, entirely possible. I can't bet against it. If he came back, I imagine it would be on a pretty low-cost deal, so I wouldn't bet against it. And I mean, on Najee, he's just had some tough breaks, and last year was a really good example of that. And this is the only thing that would make me think that Nazee's not going to get re-signed, is that he was healthy and ready to come back much earlier than he ended up getting put back onto the roster. I don't know if that was an issue with the Chiefs just deciding that they were ready to move on and didn't want to, waste, for lack of a better word, a roster spot on Nazee's development. They may have made that decision back in September that Najee wasn't a part of their future, so they were just going to move on. I will say this, from all accounts, that Najee was a good team player, that even though he was healthy enough to play, he wasn't beefing about still being on IR until he got, returned and everything. And so he has consistently been a good team player. The injury was a really bad break because it looked like he was coming into his own with that ACL. Not sure that he's been 100% since then. But if they want to give him a low cost, low risk, there's not another offer out there. I mean, I'd do it. I just don't know how much the Chiefs are interested. But that's another one of those I'm not gonna bet against, because it could certainly happen on Brown. I'm not. It's definitely a possibility. Weston, don't know if you addressed it or not. Do you think the Chiefs are waiting for the free agent market to die down? And if so, do you think they'll still do some more moves? Yeah, I definitely think that we've probably hit a little bit of the waiting for. I always say, and the waves come faster and faster than ever these days. And I'm wondering too. I mean, there was the rule change this year that allowed teams to actually have a 1-hour conversation with players the last couple of days. So they can have 5 1-hour phone call or video calls with players up until the beginning of the new league year, starting at 3:00 Wednesday. After 3:00 Wednesday, they can talk to any players that are free agents that they want to, anytime, anywhere. But in these 2 days of the negotiating window, they can only talk to 5 players for a period of time, that 1-hour time frame. So likelihoods, Chiefs are probably signing some players that they haven't spoken to yet. I mean, they probably have talked to them in the past, interviewed them during the draft process, so they know a few things, but they're not technically allowed to have any conversations with, any more than 5 of them for those 1-hour time frames, which doesn't have to be a full hour. It could be 15 minutes. I don't know what you talk about for a full hour in some of these conversations, or if the teams have time. Probably players wouldn't have time to do 32 of those if everybody was interested. So, yeah, I do think that we're, we're probably in kind of like the third wave right now. First wave is always usually day one for a couple hours where you see a lot of signings and the big money kind of come out. That's when some really crazy stuff can happen. I signed for $120 million. Then, late on Monday, you kind of start getting the wave two where maybe some guys start going for a little bit less than you thought. Maybe a few others, at a different tier kind of start going for maybe a couple of bucks more than you thought. You get kind of the third wave on Wednesday. I think there's even a fourth wave or wave three on Tuesday, wave wave four on Wednesday. You're probably not wave five anymore on Thursday. So I think that the Chiefs are waiting to see how, when it comes to external free agents, I think they are waiting to see if the market come back a little bit and see who kind of slips through the cracks that they can get on some affordable deals. With their own free agents, I think we're absolutely to the point where hey, they've made the offers that they plan to make to their own free agents. Probably not a lot, but the message is to those guys, hey, we'd love to have you back, but if the market's not the market that you thought you're going to have is not out there, come back to us. Let us know. If you get an offer, let us know, because we might be able to make it work. The Chiefs are kind of working under the assumption right now that for most of their free agents that they're probably not going to be able to make it work, that they're willing to let them go out and test the market and see what they can get and what they're available for. They've done this a lot of times in the past. This has been kind of their standard operating practice, honestly, with most of their players, is go check out the market. And if you get a good offer, we're happy to wish you luck and shake hands and best wishes, but they will match some. I imagine that may have been what happened with Tyquan. Tyquan went out and maybe he got what he thought was the best offer and asked the Chiefs if they could beat it, and they were like, sure. I imagine that may happen with a couple of their players, that they come back with offers and the Chiefs are like, well, I think we can make that work. And Leo, obviously that was a contract they knew they were not going to be able to re-sign Leo. I was surprised it took as long as it did with Leo. Maybe he was, vetting some things, or, once again, at linebacker, a lot of edge rushers and pass rushing first linebackers get signed first. But that's a good contract for Leo, and one he was definitely not going to get in Kansas City. As much as they love Leo, $8.5 million per was not going to be in their ballpark. So, it's a little bit different for internal versus external free agents. But yes, I do think that the Chiefs right now are kind of keeping quiet, waiting for the market to fall back to them a little bit. Paul, what do you think is the next move? Edge, corner, wide receiver. Any chance they use the draft capital to trade for Grenard or Thibodeau? Why am I blanking on Grenard, or am I just you're probably you're is it? May have to run that by, because I was thinking maybe we're talking about Jonathan Grenard with the Vikings. Hey, if you're still around, let me know who that is, and we can talk about that. I may just be completely blanking on who that is. Thibodeau. I'm not. I had not heard his name in conjunction with the Chiefs as being somebody that they would be interested in. There's been that kind of conjecture in the past. He's getting how old? Oh no, he's only 25. I'm trying to remember. He's coming off a not great season, is the other thing. If he's affordable enough, maybe that's a flyer that you take. But his career's kind of been going in the wrong direction, since its peak. So for me, it would have to be a really team-friendly deal. A 1-year prove-it deal. That kind of ballpark, I could probably get along with. I'm looking to see what does Spotrac think his market value is. Pull that up real quick. I'm trying to remember. Wait, did the Giants pick up his club option? If they picked up his 5th-year option for 26, then no. You'd have to make a trade for that. I'm assuming the way that they've got him listed on here. I don't remember for sure if they picked up his 5th-year option or not. I'm assuming that they did the way it's listed on here. So if that's the case, yeah, I would not be in the market for that at all. Gosh, and they calculate his market value at like 18.5. Yeah, I would not. With the direction that his kind of numbers have been going the last few years, that would not be anything that I'm interested in. It had to be a lot more affordable than that. And it looks like if they picked up his 5th-year option, then definitely not something that I'm interested in. But your mileage may vary. The Joe, has any player playing on DL been successful with very short arms? Um, Yes. And I heard him rattle off a list yesterday about some D linemen who have who have been successful with short arms, and now I'm completely blanking on who some of them are. Oh gosh, and like there's big names. I mean, gosh, I almost think like Lawrence Taylor was one of those guys. Now like going back a ways. But it must be significant because when I start to put an arm length for him, it immediately comes up as a measurement. Let's see if... No, it's not there. I need to find a measurement of where people's arm lengths were. But the long and short of it is that, yes, I mean, there are. And, gosh, I wish I could find... It's much more common, probably a little bit more at defensive tackle than it is at defensive end, because obviously arm length is I think a much more much bigger benefit for a pass rusher than for defensive tackles. But it doesn't mean that the arm length is not as a hard, fast rule for defensive linemen as it is for like tackles, offensive tackles. They're it's just your ability to be able to reach out and get your hands on a defender that's a lot more important than the converse is. I mean, is it nice? As it gives you an advantage? I mean, we joke about it. Frank Clark probably earned money on the fact that he had long arms. I mean, that probably got it. Melvin Ingram's 31 and a half. There you go. There's a guy that's jumping out at me finally. That's now Baines are a little bit, Reuben Baines, the short one. He's got the little bit shorter 30 and 7/8. I'm gonna have to find. I was actually thinking about this because I was gonna do a story on it. So Terrell Suggs 32. There's another one that's a little bit on the shorter side. I'll have to go through it and pick out and find the list for you. I'll make sure that Joe, when I do, I'll mention it on here and put the link out there. So when I get a list of those guys, so I was thinking that would be an interesting story to look at, because I do know that there are definitely some out there that have been successful with short arms. Paul, I'm going to go back to your mention because you were talking about Grenard, the linebacker with Minnesota. He's still shown as being under contract. So I think both those guys, Grenard, if he's on the trade block, I mean, I can understand that, but he's got, and I mean, I haven't, or is he getting released? I may have missed that. If he's getting released tomorrow so that they can split the cap space between 26 and 27, that may have been why that kind of slipped past me a little bit. Maybe, I mean, I could probably be talked into it at the right price. I have not heard that the Chiefs have a lot of interest, but I mean, kick the tires, look at it a little bit. I mean, again, really disappointing 2025. So if that's a guy that you can sign cheap, sign on the low end, that would be ideal. So we'll see if that could work out for them. It looks like my battery on my microphone is dying. So if my audio changes dramatically, you will know that it's gone to my backup microphone. So I apologize for that. I wish I had ability to plug it in to extend the battery life, but I do not have my other cord anywhere near me. So much like my sweaty hair, getting hot in the office tonight. I don't have the air conditioner on yet. So it's probably like 78 degrees in the house right now. This warm snap is much too early for me on the calendar. But it's not supposed to be quite this warm, although I am enjoying it. It is not supposed to be quite that warm. the Joe, how much the Raiders team been improving? I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not sold on anything that they've done. I mean, especially now with the Crosby trade kind of just absolutely blowing up in their faces. Um, I mean, they've signed some decent players. They have dramatically overpaid for a couple of them. I do not understand. I mean, what they. I mean, I feel like that they. I mean, and now, granted, their team that's going to have to. I mean, in the NFL where money talks, usually in a lot of cases it only takes maybe one more dollar to lure a guy from one team to the other. When one of those teams is the Raiders, that's where you kind of you take the setting in this situation. It's going to take more than $1 to get somebody to sign with the Raiders than with somebody else. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know with Lindenbaum if they were just bidding against themselves or there was really another team out there that was willing to make him the highest paid center in the league and top Creed Humphreys deal, and they felt like they had to come over the top of that. But I don't know. Um, I'm not sold, and if they have a rookie quarterback, which looks like what they're going to do. I mean, I do think they're going to struggle this year because they don't have much of a team around him. I mean, I've again, it's one of those things that if you're going to drop a rookie quarterback into a situation, it's better to drop them into a good situation, not be the rookie young quarterback being the first piece of the program. And I can say, if you want to say, hey, the Raiders are trying to do that with some of their free agent signings and that they realize that they have to overpay to improve some things, but that team is missing so many pieces that I think they're going to be drafting in the top 3, top 5 again next year. I just don't see it being improved in any way, even if they do, add Mendoza to it. I just not sold on what their plan is. Um, I mean, they should have known. I mean, unless something has happened since the end of the season, but they knew what kind of shape that Maxx Crosby was in at the end of the year, and they had the public dispute with him about whether or not he could play or not. So I am surprised. I mean, this, like I said, you don't usually see this happen very often. It happens occasionally in the league, but this is the biggest profile one that we've had in a few years. So it is absolutely crazy. Brian, to Bane or not to Bane? That is the question. That's gonna. I tell you what. I mean, if I don't even know if it might be to Bane or not to Bane. If you're the Chiefs and you want to trade up to get him, that might be a legitimate conversation in question. Because I mean, I don't think it would take your 29 to move up from 9 to 7. 9 to 6 if you needed to. I mean, and we could look at the draft charts and break this out and everything like that. I mean, you might at least be able, if you had to include 29, you could get it probably a pick back. It's not a huge jump. I mean, it's still a jump, but um, I think that by and large, the Chiefs are probably going to be fine sitting back and waiting to see what happens at 9 because you're going to get a player you have a first round grade on. It might be a non-premium position. I mean, it's entirely possible that it's a safety that falls to you. So if that's the best player on your board, I mean, you might take a safety. Um, I don't think a running back's going to do it. That's the one thing is that even if Love falls to you at 9 now, which I don't think he will, you actually are fine with Love going earlier than that because you want that spot taken up by somebody else. It's not going to be like a Reuben Bain. So yeah, I don't think. I mean, if Reuben Bain's on the board, Chiefs could not. I don't think they could run faster to get his name up there. The only thing that's wrong with that dude, by and large, is the arm length. There's a little bit of quibble about effort from time to time, which reminds me of Chris Jones and people, quibbling about his effort from time to time in college. And I know some people still, quibble about, Chris Jones, but I mean, dude's, getting up there. I mean, the miles, and he plays a lot of snaps, a lot more snaps than most defensive tackles of his nature. He plays a lot. So, but I mean, I've watching Chris Jones all these years. Effort has never been a problem with Chris Jones, and people that have covered him consistently with Miami say no. I mean, it's not an issue, and that dude will just take over games. So I don't think it's a question about the only question about Bain is to me is do you trade up to get him, and if not, do you you stand pat and you hope he falls there. And if he's not there, then at 9, like I said, you're still going to get a player that you want. I mean, that you feel good about, and that it's going to, like I said, it's somebody that you think can help you. So, kind of bouncing around here. I need to go to my next question, which is JR. With all the talk about running back the past couple of months, there's been almost no mention of Dameon Pierce. Do you know what the Chiefs think of him or expect to come going forward? And I'm just double checking on Dameon, because my recollection is that he is under contract for next season, but let me double check and make sure. Because I think they signed him, if I'm not mistaken, too, because he was on the practice squad. I think they signed him. If they didn't sign him to the 453, then they signed him to a reserve future deal. Just confirming it to make sure I haven't lost my mind. Actually, they still show him as a unrestricted free agent. So, let me check into that and see. I was unsure if he was technically signed for 26 or not. I mean, if he's not signed for 26, which this is indicating that he's not. I mean, I can say it was. The Chiefs were really kind of. I got the impression that they were a little bit ambivalent about Dameon Pierce and just kind of what their experience was for him. There was nothing that I think that they really felt like jumped out at them. Never really got him on the field. I was going to say, I was trying to remember if they even put him on the 53 or elevated him for week 18, but we didn't really get to see anything of him. He wasn't, at that time of the year, we only get to see the portion of practice that's open to the media, which is stretch, and so you don't get to see anything on the field. And he was primarily running scout team at the end of the season. I will say I thought it was kind of odd that he didn't do any interviews. There were several of us who tried to talk to him once he arrived in Kansas City, and he declined. To my knowledge, he declined every interview. I don't believe that, unless he did maybe an interview with team media. I don't believe that he did any with any external media. I mean, it wasn't for a lack of trying. I mean, we all asked him, and I mean, hey, I'm not going to complain about a practice squad guy that doesn't talk to the media. I mean, part of the job, but I'm not going to complain about it. Not gonna. I mean, superstars I'll complain about, but I'm not going to complain about a practice squad guy that's not talking to the media. But it was one of those things that makes you kind of just wonder about what was kind of his thought process and what he was thinking about being in Kansas City, since we never got to really know about it. And like I said, I mean, I certainly got the impression from people in the organization that they were kind of ambivalent about the experience, and I mean, it wasn't necessarily anything that they were like that stood out that was making them think that they needed to bring him back for another year. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's one reason why you don't hear a lot of talk about Dameon Pierce, because one, Dameon Pierce never talked to anybody, and two, I haven't had anybody with the Chiefs blow him up as far as saying, oh yeah, hey, watch out for this guy. I mean, if he's the guy that we saw on film last season in his limited work with the Texans, I mean, you can look at the Texans. The Texans have been going everywhere trying to find a running back, and they didn't want him anymore. So I think that speaks volumes. And it's to film last year, if you listen to 41 is the Mic with Nick and I, Nick told you it wasn't good, and it was not. I mean, even the Chiefs, when they picked him up, I mean, they admitted that they were like, his film in Houston was not good last year, but they wanted to see if he could still be the guy from 23, 24, and I'm just not sure if he is. So. Daniel, do you think the Chiefs trade up with Washington to select Bain or Bailey? I was just talking about that. I think it's a possibility with Bain. I mean, I'm not predicting it. I could see it happen, because I get the impression that is their favorite player at the top of this year's draft. As far as the player that they like the most, that fits their need, that they really think can be an impact player. I can't get a good read on Bailey. And part of that too is, I mean, Bailey does not fit their typical size requirements. I mean, he is a undersized DN. I mean, he is smaller than Frank Clark. and or at least like maybe close to Frank Clark's size at the end of Frank Clark's career in KC when he dropped a lot of weight at the end and honestly wasn't the player that he once was. Bailey might be a really good player. I think he's size wise, he is a tweener. I mean, and that's the struggle. He might be really good. Maybe he'd be better in a 3-4 where he's kind of rushing more off of the edge from the outside linebacker or from a 9 wide position. In that sense, he might be more of a Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who I still think Felix would be better in another defense, and then more of a 3-4 where he could line up more as a wide 9. I don't know if either one of those guys can drop back as they need to, but Bailey's a tough one because if the Chiefs take him, he would be such an outlier for them from a size standpoint. Just not that tall, not that big, not that chunky and muscular. I mean, he may be sturdy, but he's just got a slender frame. I mean, he's not like I would say he's more like Passanio than just maybe a foot shorter. I mean, I know he's only maybe like 4 or 5 inches shorter than Passanio, but kind of in that ballpark. I mean, at least, Passanio wasn't a tweener, but he was really slender and, not, and he had his moments, but, get really, really nervous when you take tweeners because there's always a risk. And the Chiefs have a few draft picks on tweeners right now. Like Jeff Boss is a tweener. I mean, that's one that you're going to see how it works. I mean, Xavier Worthy's a tweener. He's a really small guy. So you've had a few draft picks, high draft picks lately that, you've put some, I almost want to say Omar Norman, a little bit of a tweener. I mean, Ashton Gelati, probably a little bit more of a tweener. I mean, there's a few of these guys that are not necessarily the ideal size for the Chiefs at their particular positions, but they went that way anyway, and you're not entirely sure how they're going to work out yet. So I don't know if you want to throw another one on the pile with Bailey, but and maybe the Chiefs are masking their interest in Bailey with a little bit of their interest in Bain. I don't know, but I certainly get the impression at this point that they would trade up for Bain, but not for Bailey, and I don't know how they would feel if Bailey was at 9. I'm just a little nervous on how he would fit in there. Luttrell, is KC going to get another receiver in free agency? I mean, I think they need one. And honestly, I mean, they probably need a Juju type receiver who's just a little bit younger with a little bit more juice. That's what I could, see that they probably need. We'll see if that's available. I do think they're going to be in the market. I mean, they've got 3 draft picks right now under contract with Rice, with Worthy, with Jalen Royals. Royals is a huge X factor. We really don't know what to expect from him, where you kind of plot him onto the depth chart right now. Tyquan Thornton, I would plot ahead of Jalen Royals. I mean, he'd probably be number 3 on the depth chart right now. You got a decision to make about Nico Remigio and whether or not you offer him a contract tender. I think they will because it's fairly low cost and low risk. Doesn't mean he's making the team, but there's just another receiver to the mix. But I think they need a veteran. I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a receiver. And now we start looking again like, oh, geez, are the Chiefs going to end up with 6 or 7 wide receivers and kind of be in the same ballpark that they've been a few years ago, last few years, where they have 6 or 7 receivers and it feels like that they have none. I don't know, but I would not be surprised if the Chiefs signed another receiver. I feel like they need somebody who's maybe got that 5+ years experience to just have an old head in the room. If Chad Shea, the wide receivers coach, is there to be the old head, to be the guy that holds everybody accountable and is that kind of mentor to a young room, I could see that. And like I said, I mean, Juju's a great guy for that. It's just that you just wish that Juju had more juice in those knees and a little bit more left in the tank. Maybe he comes back after you get through the next few weeks. Maybe you get through the draft. If Juju was still out there, maybe you still bring Juju back. But somebody like Juju with, just like I said, a little bit more juice in him would be a great guy to have around. And there's a few veterans out there that I think could be of interest to the Chiefs. There's been some names, Romeo Doubs, who I think just landed with the Patriots, was in that. Oh, Looks like the mic just died. Does no one hear me at all? I switched my microphones up here so that hopefully, Nikki, if you or anyone else is around and can tell me whether or not if the audio came back. You can now? Okay, cool. I probably didn't say anything important after the mic died, but yes, I do expect the Chiefs to try and target another veteran receiver. Yeah, I apologize. My microphone battery died, so we are going with the one that's on the camera, which is not a great microphone. So I apologize for the quality here. Jason, you said in the same interview with the Serena Chiefs could go to the Super Bowl next year. Not serious, right? I mean, do you think the Chiefs don't think that they can go to the Super Bowl next year? They do. I mean, they feel like that. Hey, that this team's not that far away, and I think, like I said earlier, the fact that you're going out and you're getting Kenneth Walker is, and not doing anything else on offense. The offense was your number one problem last year, and you're not doing anything else. You're not bringing in a $20 million wide receiver. You're not, bringing in anybody new on the offensive line. You're going with Jalen Moore as your right tackle. You're running it back with the same tight ends that you had last year. The only thing you're changing is running back. I mean, the Chiefs in their actions are telling you that they feel like that they're serious Super Bowl contenders. And I'll be honest, I mean, I don't mind putting my name next to it. They should be. I mean, of the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, I mean, what's the outlier? Is it the 6-11? 15-2? I mean, both those are outliers. Were the Chiefs a 15-2 team? Well, they were a lot closer to being a 15-2 team than they were a 6-11 team. 6-11, I still think that there was a lot of things that went wrong last year. I think they were a better 6-11 team. A lot of the metrics that some people rely on would also tell you that, I mean, this sounds like a stupid, and this is not, I'm not bragging about them. I mean, that's not my job to brag upon them. I can just point out that, like, metrics, DVOA, I mean, you can point to a lot of different ones, will tell you that this was like the best 6-11 team in the last quarter century. So thinking they're a 6-11 team and not like, an 8-9 team or even a 9-7, 9-8 team that just had some bad luck. They had some bad luck. I mean, they had some good luck in past years that helped them get over the hump, but I don't think they just fell off the face of the planet. And Kenneth Walker is going to make a difference. I mean, they've got problems. There's no doubt. I mean, there's things that they have to work with. They're losing a lot on defense. They're going to have to rebuild that. Steve Spagnuolo has done that before. They've kept the people that they think that they need to do that. I'm in this case, I'm not sure that I completely agree. I mean, I do think that they've got some holes to fill, but when I say that when I'm telling you that the Chiefs, they're signing Kenneth Walker on the basis that he's going to take them to the Super Bowl, that they are not signing Kenneth Walker because they think that he's going to take them from 6-11 to 8-9. They signed Kenneth Walker because they think that is the piece on offense that can get them back into the playoffs and make them champions of the AFC West and challenge again for a Super Bowl. And honestly, I mean, I can't argue with them because their quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. And if we can't agree that Patrick Mahomes automatically makes you a Super Bowl contender, then I don't know what. Because I don't know what you're thinking. Because if Patrick Mahomes is healthy and he's on your team, you are one of the 5 favorites for the Super Bowl every year. I mean, didn't work out for you last year, and he got hurt at the end of the year. Would it have mattered if he had gotten hurt? No, because last year the die was cast. They had gone down the toilet as it was. I will say that if Kenneth Walker was on last year's team, they're not going 6-11. No way in the world are they going 6-11. If Kenneth Walker works out the way that they think that he can, it's going to change the entire complexity of that offense. Will it work? I don't know. But that's why they brought him in. They brought him in to change this offense. And they think that he can do that. So, Alicia, have you seen any indication that the Chiefs are concerned about Josh Simmons? Just curious about all the smoke around tackles and free agency, or this about Jalen Moore? I mean, Alicia, I'll be honest. I think that some of the smoke and free agency around it, one, I think that it might just be a little bit of projection. I'm not sure that the Chiefs have been showing as much interest in tackles as people are just kind of projecting and speculating about them being interested in tackles. I haven't heard that much from the Chiefs directly. I think it's telling that most of the conjecture about the Chiefs being interested in tackles are coming from national reporters and not from the local reporters. I'm not going to speak for anybody else on the beat, but that's just not something that we've heard a lot about. If they are interested, I think it's because a lot of people, they do have, a lot of people nationally do have questions about Josh Simmons. They probably do have questions about Jalen Moore. They do have questions about Esapole as their number 3. So, and there's definitely a possibility for some needs there. I mean, but again, I think the Chiefs would probably be much more likely to be interested in a tackle in the draft than in free agency. I could be wrong, and Trent Williams is part of that conversation, and Trent Williams at this point is not available. Maybe he becomes available. I still think that at this point in his career, that would be an odd direction to take for the Chiefs because, they have right tackle solved to their satisfaction for a year. They're more worried right now about right tackle in 2027 and 2028. And I'm not sure that Trent Williams is the answer for that because Trent Williams, bless his heart, is like 142 years old. Still one of the best tackles that's out there, but he's 142 years old. He's like, Rocky Marciano and Joe Louis. I mean, so I'm not sure that I have seen that. Like I said, I could be really surprised if the Chiefs bring in a veteran tackle of any sort that would be competing for a starting job. And like I said earlier, I mean, I still don't see any concerns from the Chiefs around Josh Simmons. If they have some, they're not airing it. They're not expressing it out there. I think they're cautiously optimistic that he's addressed the issues that caused him to be out those games. It's still very unclear what caused him to miss those games. Everybody's still being very tight-lipped about it. But like I said, and at the end of the year, Josh was there. He was in the building during, when he was on injured reserve. He was doing his rehab. That doesn't always happen with the case with, players who are doing rehab. Not always around the building and everything. Josh was. So I think that speaks a little bit about the fact that, that they do feel like that things, whatever they were, have been resolved, and they have faith that the biggest question about Josh Williams is his availability, and they think that they've addressed that. We'll see what happens. Joe C. Have to hang on to Tranquil. Bossa didn't get enough snaps last year. I think for that reason alone, and the fact that you're missing Leo is a good point, and don't really have anybody that. I mean, Bossa is the guy that was there to fill in if you lost either Tranquil or Leo. Now, granted, he's not a Leo type player. I mean, Cooper McDonald is more of a Leo type player. So if Cooper McDonald can handle that role, great. But yeah, I mean, I think from the experience alone, you'd love to have Bossa back this year. Alicia, also right now, what position group are you most concerned about? I mean, now that they've addressed running back, I mean, that would have been my answer probably 36 hours ago, maybe 5 days ago. Now it's cornerback. You need more corners. You absolutely do. I think they're okay at safety as well. I mean, if you're able to get a safety or a corner that is proficient in the slot, I think that would be great, so that you didn't have to rely on Shamari Connor and Chris Roland Wallace in that spot. I think you'd like to have somebody else. You're not going to find anybody as good as Trent McDuffie in that, but if you can find somebody to help you out with that nickel role, I think that would be ideal. But you need more depth. I mean, right now, Kevin Knowles is probably your number 3 corner, and that's not a lot of experience or depth at that spot. So I think you would like some more experience. There's a few guys out there. I'll tell you what, the funniest one to me, I mean, we're talking about Dave Merritt being able to coach guys up and get the most out of them. What if they trade Trent McDuffie and one of the guys that they bring in to fill those spots left by Trent McDuffie is Kyer Elam, who, remember, the Chiefs jumped in front of Buffalo so they could get McDuffie, and, and then the Bills immediately took Elam right after that. I think that would be hilarious. I don't know if it's on the Chiefs board. I don't know if they have that much faith in Dave Merritt to be able to rehabilitate Kyer Elam. But Kyer Elam, once upon a time, was considered a really good corner coming out. So maybe if you think you can fix him. I mean, and that's the thing. Almost every NFL team thinks that they can fix somebody else's problem. That's just the reality of it. If there's a player, I mean, there's a reason why Sky Moore is continuing to get contracts and to continue to get signed. I mean, he was a really good special teams player for the 49ers last year. So Packers have abysmal return game. So that is absolutely what they're trying to do, is they're trying to get somebody to improve that return game. So, but yeah, corner is number one. And if it means, like I said, if it means picking up somebody else's problem and seeing if you can coach them up, great. There's corners are expensive. So if you're going to sign somebody at an affordable rate, there's going to be a reason why they're available. And Chiefs have had some success in that past, I mean, so let's see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if they address corner any number of ways. Defensive line's second in line. I mean, it's still a problem because you still need 3 or 4 new defensive linemen. Like I said, the addition of Tonga is great, but you need some more bodies there. But right now, yes, it goes corner and then D-line for me. Let's see. Aaron, I feel like the question with Bane could be better phrased as, does Bane win with moves that require long arms? I feel like his skill set is not tooled around the long arm setup. That's a good way to look at it, Aaron. I mean, you're right. I mean, he's not winning at the college level because, he's got longer arms than other short-armed college tackles. That's not what he's winning with. He's winning because his footwork is superior. His strength is superior, his technique is superior, all these reasons. I mean, his ferocity is superior. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why he wins at the college level. So it has nothing to do with arm length. So yeah, I mean, I have not heard from anybody at the NFL level who is even remotely concerned about Bane's arm length, because they're like, it just doesn't matter as much for defensive linemen and defensive ends. And Bane is one of those players that that's not what he wins his game on. Now, is he going to be knocking down any passes at the line of scrimmage? No. He's not going to be the kind of guy that gets his hands in the quarterback's face and causes problems that way. But if he gets to the quarterback and gets him on the ground and hits him, you don't care about that part of his game. So yeah, and like we talked about, like you're mentioning there, it's you just don't have to worry about Bane's ability to win without his arms. I mean, he's got the other skills necessary to take care of everything. So I am assuming at this point that one of our moderators must have put Jimmy in the box. I'm not supposed to say anything out loud. There, Jimmy, I see you there. I had not seen any of your comments. Maybe you deleted some of them, or maybe I was skipping them. I realized I was skipping them because they weren't questions. Jimmy, I love you, brother, but my goodness, sometimes you go crazy and don't know what's going on. But I love you, brother. It's all well. Just keep things clean. I don't see any foul language, so as long as you do that, respectful to all of us who are here, I'll let some things slide. But if the worst thing you're going to call anybody, and you want to call me or yourself a jabroni, that's fine. That's the worst that we're going to get. Could Maxx have failed the physical on purpose so he could stay with the Raiders? I mean, he already said goodbye to the Raiders and said, yeah, I'll come back and sign a 1-year contract one day. So I think he was okay leaving the Raiders in the grand scheme of things. I know he wants to win some football games, and I think he knows he's not going to win any with the Raiders anytime soon. So, I mean, I can imagine that if, based on the dispute apparently these two teams had, that I could see them there being something in those medicals that were a problem, and probably would be a problem for most other teams too. So, oh gosh, I'm not there yet, but I see it on the screen there. Is that DQ? That's pretty funny. I'll have to tell Stephen and Jake that tomorrow. It's hilarious. Let's see, Jimmy's, is this a clean question? Why did the Chiefs end up having to completely rebuild entire position groups at once recently, besides drafting terribly? I mean, why is this a trend now? I mean, you're not wrong in that it's happened a couple of times. I mean, they had it after the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers. Kind of had it after the Super Bowl against the Eagles, although I still don't feel like that the Chiefs, changed that line as much as other people did. I mean, they only changed two spots really. I mean, they still had Juwan Taylor there after the loss to the Eagles. They drafted Josh Simmons, who I think they would have drafted anyway. Um, Regardless at that spot. I think if Josh Simmons fell to them there, I mean, they were taking him no matter what. And they moved Kingsley inside to left guard, who was already there. So, you had new left tackle and new left guard who was already hanging around. But I understand. I mean, that's one of those position groups. I mean, you could say that in 2022 when they drafted 5 defensive backs that they were rebuilding that. Obviously, the best example is after the Tampa Bay Super Bowl. But I think that they've all been for a little bit different reasons. After the Bucs Super Bowl, that was a combination of really age and injuries hitting that group because Mitch Schwartz didn't come back from the back injury. He retired from the back injury. Eric Fisher. I know he went to go play for the Colts, but he was not the same player after that injury that kept him out of that Super Bowl. So I think that was a little bit of age related. This in which group are we talking about here? I mean, to a degree, and you're rebuilding your secondary again this year, but you're not really doing it because you drafted terribly. You're doing it because the guys that you drafted 5 years ago all played pretty well for you, and now they're getting paid $250 million by somebody else. I mean, when you look at it in those terms and you look at what those Chiefs corners are making, it would have been impossible to keep that 2025 class together or 2022 class together. You could only keep certain pieces of it. And I get, there's going to be some who say keep Trent McDuffie over Karlaftis. I mean, McDuffie's making almost twice as much as Karlaftis is. I mean, it was not a McDuffie or Karlaftis, one or the other. It was McDuffie or Karlaftis and like 2 other or 3 other guys. If you sign Trent McDuffie, you don't have George Karlaftis. You probably don't have Drew Tranquill, and you're not even there yet. Matching McDuffie's money, you'd have to have somebody else that's not there. So somebody else you're not probably not bringing back Tyquan. That still doesn't get you there. So I think it's been a little bit different reasons. I don't think it's all been about drafting terribly. If it's about balancing your groups a little bit so that you don't have a situation like you had with this one. And now, hey, one of the solutions to balancing your 2022 draft class, honestly, would have been trading Trent McDuffie a year ago. And maybe that's what you should have done. I mean, you did get a pretty good haul. Had you traded McDuffie a year ago, you could have gotten a better haul. So I mean, that's probably the only quibble that you would make about the McDuffie trade is just that probably if you're going to do it, you probably should have done it a year ago. And like I said, I say that even though I think Veach got the best return that he could for him. But it's been for different reasons. All teams have to do it. But I am still a little concerned about the defensive line because it is not completely rebuilt yet. They've got a starting lineup. Just not sure about the depth behind that starting lineup yet. So let's see what happens. Nikki, do you think the running back is all they need to get back to the Super Bowl? You need a better wide receiver too. It's a great question, Nikki. I think that they do probably need a different wide receiver or two. Some of it may be coaching, and some of it might even be making some tough decisions. Because, I mean, one of the problems that they had last year in that wide receiver group was that you had some guys who didn't finish routes. And that's a problem. And it's the one thing that I think that on the offensive side, one of the things that was a coaching problem. I mean, some of the issues, there's no way they could have coached themselves out of there's no way you could have coached your way out of your running back problem last year and your run game problem. The die was cast. The fact that you didn't acquire a running back, outside of Rashard Smith and Elijah Mitchell, at any point in the offseason, free agency, draft, anything, trade, anything, was a problem. I mean, that's kind of what set you up there. So wide receiver was another problem. They had some guys who underperformed at wide receiver. And, and watching the Super Bowl is a great example of that, honestly, because, the Seahawks, Sam Darnold is not a great quarterback. He's a good game manager. He's Alex Smith, by and large, and maybe not even better than Alex Smith. So, but you look at his receivers are terrific. They are so good at getting open. They're so good. Doesn't matter if it's man or zone. They are just absolutely incredible at finding space. And, those guys do not quit on routes. They do not give up. They continue to run with their quarterback. And we saw it too many times last year that, Mahomes, protection breaks down, Mahomes takes off, and there's two wide receivers just hugging a defensive back like they're waiting for the parents to pick them up at the movies, and they've been told, hug a tree, don't go anywhere, we'll find you. No, it goes the other way around. Receivers are the ones that have to be running. The quarterback will find you. Don't just stand there. And that's why I said at one point last year, I'm like, if I'm the Chiefs coaches, I'm just going to the wide receiver room and I'm showing them Chris Conley film every single day until I get it through their numbskull heads. You gotta be able to do these things. And the Seahawks receivers did it. Chiefs receivers didn't do it last year. So, they may need more new receivers. They need some guys with some new attitudes and new approaches this year. And if Chad Shea can fix that, then that's going to be a big part of their problem. But, the reason why Kenneth Walker is going to be a big part of this, he saw, as I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he saw the least number of light boxes last year. It was 6 guys in the box of any running back in the league last year. If that forces teams to put a 7th guy in the box, and now, they're forced to play a little bit more zone, or they're forced to go straight up man on your Chiefs, your receivers, and they're forced to match up a little bit differently. Maybe they're forced to take off another linebacker or a defensive end and put out a defensive back. There's a lot of things that you can force teams to do that now are in the offense's advantage. Last year, Andy Reid said it. No one respected the Chiefs' run game. And that's why the running back can make a huge difference, because the running back can make a difference between whether there's 5 guys in coverage or there's 4 guys in coverage. And that alone is going to make Patrick Mahomes a better quarterback. It's going to make your wide receivers better. There were sometimes last year when I criticized the wide receivers for not getting open, some of it was because there was no way to get open. There was just so little respect for the run game that teams didn't even bother. It was like, if the Chiefs run the football, don't worry about it. Somebody's going to get that guy, because 1, he's not going to see the hole, or 2, he's not going to be able to hit the hole and accelerate through it. So they had no teams respected the Chiefs run game last year. They're going to have to now. Unless the offensive line just completely collapses on you and lets you down, it's on the running back. It's on the line now. The line, if they can create holes, Kenneth Walker's going to find them and he's going to exploit them. So that's where I think that, yes, that if you could only replace one player on the offense to make your team better, it's going to be running back. Now, another wide receiver would be helpful. Improving in a couple of other spots wouldn't hurt. But I don't think people truly underappreciate just how bad the Chiefs' run game was last year and how much it dragged the passing game down with it. It's got to be better. And coaching was probably a part of it. The Chiefs have overhauled the coaching staff at both running back and receiver. So that should, in theory, help things. But, the one thing that they could do to make this team better was a new running back. So I don't know why. Again, we've been going through this for a while, and maybe it's just the nature of, this was my first season going on the air with Soren. Maybe so many of you listen to Soren that you just jump on every single thing. And I know there's been some conjecture that maybe some of you are blowing it out of proportion, because once again, I did not hear anything, Ron, of that nature, the way that you're talking about it. Maybe he did, because Soren and I completely disagreed yesterday about what the Kenneth Walker signing, whether it was a good signing, a bad signing, what's the measure of success. But I don't know what anybody wants. Pono, what would you give the Raiders for Maxx, Matt? Less than what the Ravens would have, based on apparently the medicals. Because what that was, gosh. I'm pulling it up because I'm trying to remember what the. I know it was 2 first-round picks. I'm trying to remember if there was anything else in there. I would not send 2 first-round picks. I would start with 29. I would include 29. Once again, not depending on what the medicals actually are. I mean, if we find out that he's got a ligament or something that's just hanging on for dear life, then maybe there's nothing. And if that knee is as bad as the Ravens seem to think that it is, maybe I wouldn't offer anything. Like I said, it would basically be less than what the Raiders were getting. I mean, it would be less than what the Ravens were offering. Because if the knee is that bad or that many concerns, then it would be less. So I'd offer 29, probably median somewhere around the 4th. It would have to be less. But again, I can not imagine in a million years the Raiders ever considering trading Maxx Crosby to the Chiefs, because I mean, unless Maxx Crosby tore his ACL on the first play of the first game, the Raiders fans would never let the Raiders live it down. So cannot imagine. And Jimmy's, I'll be honest, I read the questions. I look at some of the comments occasionally. I did not see where things started or escalated. I don't want anybody to leave. And I feel bad that if anyone disrespected you. No, we shouldn't be doing that here either. Maybe it was just some kidding and joking, getting out of control. I'm not kicking you out. And I mean, I do trust my moderators. If there was anything that was moderated or deleted and anything like that, I've given them the charge to do it because I trust them to act in the best interest of the board. So I hope that wasn't. I hope nothing happened in that case that hurt anybody's feelings, Jimmy's. I know every once in a while you get a little excited and sometimes it freaks some people out, and sometimes I get it too. And sometimes I think you're just trying to be funny and everything like that. So I hope nothing happened that would drive you away. I hope both ways. I hope anybody that was bothered by anything that you said, I hope they're not leaving either. Hope we can all get along here because I really love the community that you all have built. I'm just here for the ride. I really appreciate everything that all of you do. So I hope that there's nothing that has driven anybody away. So just hope we can all have fun here. So since right now most people seem to think that I'm getting bullied and badmouthed by Seren, and I mean, Jimmy is not Seren's burner account. Seren and I go up against each other. I know their shows begins. His show begins immediately after mine. So I guess you can go listen to him. And I haven't watched Seren's show. Do people go over to his show and make comments about, hey, good job bullying Matt the other day? I don't think he bullied me. And again, I thought I stood up for myself. I mean, I'm not going to tell a guy on his own show necessarily that he's wrong, although I thought I did that in a very diplomatic way yesterday. We just disagreed, and it's sports. I mean, we're going to disagree. So every once in a while, something happens on Seren's show that everybody gets freaked. Well, not everybody. A handful of people get freaked out about and drag me down. So maybe I should just stop dealing with it altogether. Although I do know that a few of you did agree with me, so it's always helpful. But anyway. With that, we have reached the end of the question time. So I will just go out one last call. So if anybody else has any more questions that you want to fire in, feel free to go for it. Otherwise, we'll have an emergency live stream if we need to sometime during the week. If there's another signing of any sort, anything that pops up that is surprising or disturbing or anything of that nature, we will break it all down. But otherwise, Nick and I will break down free agency on Sunday with 41 is the mic and get into everything that's happened this week and explain what we see, what we're hearing, maybe what's next for the Chiefs. We're going to start draft coverage. It's going to be getting intense. So there will be a few new things popping up there. Everybody, Once again, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Thanks for coming in with all of your questions that drive the conversation. Jimmy's, I hope you're still a part of everything here. Everybody that was getting into it with Jimmy, I hope you're still a part of things too. It's all about having fun. It's all that we're trying to do, and only thing I ever want at the end of the day is for everybody to be respectful of each other. If we can do that, we're going to have a high old time. And I mean, I don't know. Apparently I have to go stand up for myself. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you, unless anything happens, we'll see you on Sunday for 41 is the mic, and then back next Tuesday for the next chapter of the live stream and get into whatever happens between now and then. Everybody have a great week. Hope